Well, hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritzland is a 10-year reflection on TNA Bound For Glory 2008, which was a pretty damn good pay-per-view. Took place in Chicago, had a really nice big crowd, and I'm reflecting on this because Bound For Glory 2018 is just around the corner. I don't know if I'm going to order that one or not. Let me know in the comments after this review goes up, obviously, if you want me to order it. I'm not going to promise, but we'll see. I'm not able to keep up on a lot of the current Impact Wrestling product as I'm reviewing WWE and New Japan, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to look back on a time when I really enjoyed the Impact Wrestling brand. A lot more than WWE. I have talked about that in other videos. There were times between 2004 and 2009, quite a few times where I enjoyed the TV and pay-per-view product that Impact Wrestling was pumping out way more than WWE. Even with the deep roster WWE had, Impact was knocking it out of the park with some questionable creative decisions at times because of Russo, but also some great creative decisions and some really landmark great matches and great tag team wrestling. The women's division, the Knockouts division, their X division, and all that stuff, and even their heavyweight division. They really had a layered talent roster. But anyway, going to be a bit of a short review though, as like some of these matches aren't really worth talking about, but. You had, started out with a Steel Asylum match. Jay Lethal defeated Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Curryman, Jimmy Rave, Johnny Devine, Petey Williams, Shark Boy, Sanjay Dutt, and Super Eric. And Eric Young was actually in a dark match where he teamed up with Sojourner Bolt versus Lance Rock and Christy Hemme. Shortly before Christy Hemme, I believe, retired due to a neck injury and became the ring announcer. And good for her, and she seems to be doing just fine, outside of wrestling now. I don't think she's involved with Impact anymore. Or she is, and whatever. Good for her, regardless of what. Always liked Christy Hemme. She always seemed really, really cool. But anyway, Steel Asylum, I never cared as much for the match concept, but these guys took some insane bumps and made really good use of the gimmick and of the cage and everything. And yeah, okay, the whole thing of like climbing, to get out of the hole in the steel cage, the top of the steel cage was pretty ridiculous, but these guys did make the best use of it and did pretty well with it. And Jay Lethal gained the victory. He was on the ascent here. They would team him up with Consequences Creed. They would become Lethal Consequences and be one hell of a tag team. Even if they didn't team up for too long, they were still a really, really good tag team and feuded with Beer Money for a bit. That was a good match. The next match, less so. ODB and Raka Khan and Rhino versus the Beautiful People, Angelina Love, Cute Kip, Billy Gunn, and Velvet Sky. With Tracy Brooks as a special guest referee, this was not good. This was not a good use of the women. It was just not. I mean, it just... I got why they did it. They wanted to get everybody on the card, but it's just, you could have not had this match on the card. It was a nice cool down, I guess, from the Steel Asylum insanity that they had, but this was not very, very good. I never really cared. Velvet Sky somehow got worse in the ring as her career went on, and Angelina Love was good enough worker. I just never necessarily cared for her. I didn't really, I don't know. I just didn't really care for her as a wrestler. Though I will admit she took some hard bumps and seems to be doing pretty well for herself outside of Impact, so that's fantastic. ODB, I respected. Raka Khan, never respected at all. Seemed like a bit of a bitch. Rhino and Billy Gunn, Cute Kip, did what they could here, but it was a pretty bad match. And then Sheik Abdul Basir, Sean Davari, versus Consequences Creed for the TNA X Division Championship, and this was good for what it was. It was a 9.5-minute match. There was some good stuff as far as good action and everything. I thought Davari as Sheik was a bit underrated and should have been used a whole lot better. But it was a good match for what it was. Consequences did not need. Creed did not need to get the victory here. And by the way, Consequences Creed, Xavier Woods. Now, him and Sheik had good chemistry. This wasn't a great X Division title match. I would argue that Daniels and Lethal from Bound for Glory 07, which I did a review of last year, you can check that out if you want. That was more enjoyable, but they still cut a pretty good pace here, and I thought told a pretty good story in the limited time that they had. And then you get to Taylor Wilde defeating Awesome Kong and Roxie. It was a three-way dance for the TNA the Knockouts Championship. This match went 5 minutes. 5, maybe 5.5 minutes, depending on if you go bell to bell. Roxie deserved better. Taylor Wilde wasn't particularly bad in the ring. Didn't really stick around in wrestling, or at least in Impact, very long. Which is a shame. I think pay might have had something to do with it, maybe injuries, whatever. I always thought Taylor Wilde deserved better than she got. And Awesome Kong deserved a whole lot better than she got, especially later in her career. And they really felt the sting of Gail Kim leaving. I believe Gail Kim left due to having a sick sister, and she needed a bigger contract. That's why she went to WWE for a couple of years. And kudos to her. I mean, great, but her home always was an Impact because they used her a whole lot fucking better. Because they let her go out and actually fucking wrestle. Imagine that concept. You let the women go out and wrestle. Now WWE does. It's nice that they, took only about, 7 to 8 years to catch up to that. But Taylor Wilde won. It was really, really cheap, cheap way to use the women. I mean, you could have had this be 10 minutes and it would have been fine. Even 8 minutes, but just barely over 5 minutes. Not a good use. Taylor Wilde got okay, whatever. I always like Roxie. I wonder what Roxie's doing now. But then I would argue the best match of the night, or at least show-stealing match of the night. Beer Money, James Storm and Robert Roode as the TNA Tag Team Champions. Versus, they had Jacqueline with them, versus Abyss and Matt Morgan, versus Latin American Exchange, Hernandez and Homicide, versus Team 3D, Brother Devon and Brother Ray, and Steve Mongo McMichael, that fat piece of shit that he is, because they were in Chicago, so they wanted to have a celebrity there, and he was a special guest referee. There were some moments with Steve Mongo McMichael going to his football background, and James Storm having the football helmet with the beer cans on the side, and some nice comedic moments. This was the one, I believe, this was the one where, because some of them blend together, because Abyss did a lot of shit to his body, and thankfully he's still alive, where he got set on fire, and the crew did not exactly do the best job putting him out at first. Kudos to Abyss. I have no idea how he's still walking with all the shit that he did to his body, but great spokesperson for Impact Wrestling for sticking with him as long as he has. I think I don't know, is he still with them, or is he out on his own right now? I know he was with them a couple years ago, but anyway. This was a really, really fantastic match with some great weapon spots and everything. The flaming table spot, just some good shit, some good hardcore wrestling. Beer Money, one of the greatest TNA tag teams of all time. LAX, also a very good tag team. Abyss and Matt Morgan, they existed. They were fine. They were two big lads that really never got much of anything. And then you had Matt Morgan and I believe Hernandez team up, and that didn't really work out either. This was what it was. But it was enjoyable. It was good. It flowed well. And the 21 minutes that it was flew by really, really quickly. Of course, Beer Money got the victory. Steve Mongo McMichael did not want to count 3, but he did because he's an impartial referee. He's also one of the worst wrestling commentators and also one of the worst goddamn wrestlers ever. I do not like Steve Mongo McMichael, have I mentioned that? But that doesn't take away from this match being damn good. Their tag team division on fire. Literally, but, in the case of Abyss, literally. But it was still enjoyable. It was really, really fun. I really did like this match. And I encourage you guys to at least check out this one. But also the next few are actually pretty damn good. But this match in particular really started to amp things up and everything, and you could argue kind of set the bar a little bit high for everybody else. And then you had Booker T with Sharmell defeat AJ Styles and Christian Cage in a 3-way dance. I believe this was either the last or second to last match that Christian Cage had in his TNA career. I think they had one at the next pay-per-view, which I think was Genesis 08. Because I know they started to shuffle stuff around and everything. It was either Genesis or Turning Point. But anyway, I know that they had one in November, and I believe it was if Booker won, the Christian Cage would have to join the main event Mafia, which was pretty much formed on this night. Started on this night, and then they really formed them on an episode of Impact soon after. But Booker T won. It was a good match, and this was a weird period for AJ Styles where he wasn't in the main event, even though he probably should have been. And Christian Cage, because he was thinking about leaving, and he did eventually leave, went back to WWE, and was actually used a ton better in Impact than he was ever in WWE. Because it took them 2 damn years to put a world title on him. ECW title does not count. Sorry to anybody that won the WWE version of the ECW title. It didn't count. It wasn't a worthy belt. It was barely above the hardcore belt, and the hardcore belt hadn't existed since 2002. But anyway, this was a well-done 3-way dance. Some good exchanges. Booker T got the victory, and it was setting all the pieces up for the main event Mafia to form. Then you had Jeff Jarrett defeat Kurt Angle with Mick Foley as a special guest enforcer. And gee, I wonder what's going to happen here in a match where you have a wrestler as a special guest enforcer. Gee, could Socko be broken out? Could you have Foley interfere? Or, attack Angle and this kind of stuff? Because Angle at this point was the heel. Then they flipped the roles later, and Jeff Jarrett was the heel and everything after stealing Angle's wife. Or after Karen basically hopped on the dick of another wrestler just to ride him into success. because that was Karen Angle, now Karen Jarrett's only fucking talent, because she was never anything good in the wrestling business at all. She was fucking rotten. Goddamn embarrassment, quite frankly. Other people could like her, that's fine. That's fine if you guys like her. I just never did. But this was Jeff Jarrett's pretty much his comeback match. He'd had a couple matches, I think leading, like, you know, after Bound for Glory 06, when he had left to go take care of his wife, his now passed away ex-wife, Jill, the one who died of cancer. Really emotional interview piece that they had at Slammiversary 07. Very emotional. I encourage you guys to go check that out on YouTube. You really feel for Jeff Jarrett. I mean, I can say a lot of shit about Jeff Jarrett, the person, now, but losing your loved one is no goddamn joke. And it really must suck to see your loved one lost, you know, and fading away like that. And you being able to do nothing but love them and, you know, pray for them or hope for them or whatever it is that you guys do. This is how you get down, how you help anyone grieving, and how you deal with grief yourself. Back to wrestling. This is a well done match. This was the second longest match of the evening. Just under, runtime barely under the tag team match. And it was good stuff. You had Jarrett and Angle cut a really good pace. For Jarrett not being in the ring all that much, and you know, in the past, like barely having any matches in the last 2 years, like maybe a couple, this was really, really enjoyable. And you know, they told a good story here. Would ring rust play a factor? Would Jarrett be able to focus and everything? And would Angle be able to beat him? As Angle is being a pretty dastardly heel at this point. Foley, of course, played a factor. Jeff Jarrett got the victory. This was good stuff. This was a really good... This was a match you could have put in the main event. I'm glad they didn't, because the main event deserved to be there. Or the match in the main event slot deserved to be there. But yeah, Jarrett beat Kurt Angle, and this was one of the best matches they had, because after a while it did start to get watered down, but this might have been the best match they had in Impact Wrestling. At least my personal opinion. But anyway, you then get to Sting versus Mojo for the TNA Heavyweight Championship. And what was enjoyable about this? They fought in the crowd. They fought all over. It was very personal. Sting started to show more of an edge here. Joe was more focused and everything, trying to prove that he belonged and that he could beat the Stinger. And Sting had already, you know, was up 2-0 at Bound for Glory. Could Joe get this victory? Could Joe continue his run as Impact World Champion, TNA World Champion, which wasn't going that well, let's be honest. After winning it from Kurt Angle Lockdown 2008, it was not a very good run. They could have booked it a lot better. I did a which was worse, Punk's world title reign in 08 or Joe's TNA title run in 08, and you can check that out. I think it's episode 2 or 3. I think it's episode 3. But anyway, check that out if you want. Cheap plug for that. This was a really, really enjoyable match, though. Sting did end up getting the victory because Kevin Nash, who had been consulting Joe and trying to get more out of him, even though they had kind of been feuding for a bit, played a factor in where, you know, Nash ended up costing Joe the match. Sting got the victory, and then you started to see a heel turn with Sting, where you formed the main event Mafia very soon after this. So all the pieces were laid in. Booker T winning. You had, of course, Scott Steiner involved. You had Kurt Angle, who was upset at Jeff Jarrett. They formed the main event Mafia was a really good stable. I might have to count down my favorite stables in Impact Wrestling history and just, go with that at some point. Even though I've done best and worst factions, and I did those countdowns a couple years ago, I might have to revisit that, but we'll see. Honestly, this was a pretty damn good main event, or pretty good main event, and pretty good card overall. Sure, there were some matches that weren't all that good, like a couple matches of Bimbo Brawl and the Knockouts 3-Way, because they weren't given enough time, or they didn't have the right components and the right booking and everything to make it good. But this was still overall a really, really fun show and a great pay-per-view to watch, especially if you're an old Impact Wrestling fan like myself. So anyway, let me know what you guys thought. Are there other Impact Wrestling pay-per-views you want me to review? Older ones and stuff like that? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. It's been Real Honesty with Jarrett, and I will see you soon.